For over 5 decades, Philip Yancey built a reputation as a pillar of the Christian publishing world. He authored books that sold more than 15 million copies, providing comfort and theological clarity to readers wrestling with their faith. Then, at 76 years old, the unthinkable happened. Yancey confessed to a secret 8-year affair with a married woman, a relationship that began when he was 68. The fallout was absolute. Yancey was instantly disqualified from Christian ministry and retired completely from all public life. Beyond the professional collapse, he inflicted immense trauma upon his wife of 55 years, who is now his primary caretaker as he battles Parkinson's disease. We naturally assume that aging brings safety. We tell ourselves that as we grow older, we accumulate wisdom, outgrow the turbulent temptations of youth, and eventually cross a spiritual finish line where our character is locked in place. If decades of intense personal discipline and massive public success do not guarantee a safe finish, the quiet years of old age are not a sanctuary. There are invisible psychological forces actively dismantling men during the exact years they assume they are safest. The trap lies in how we process maturity. The specific virtues and rewards you earn through a lifetime of aging mutate into the exact vices that trigger a moral collapse. This psychological ledger develops inside an older man's mind. Decades of good behavior pile up, looking like currency. This massive reserve transforms into entitlement. Because you've worked so hard, you convince yourself you have definitively earned a moral exception. The natural maturation process itself becomes a fatal liability. The accumulation of life experience naturally makes older men softer. You see more of the world, you interact with different beliefs, and you begin to view others and yourself with far more leniency and grace. Specific assumption that the longer a person serves and the older they get, the safer they become from spectacular moral failure. But we are seeing a shift in the cultural reality. From the implosion of mainline denominations to a steady stream of moral failures in the ministry establishment, the headlines suggest that a long track record is no guarantee of a safe finish. Simultaneously, other prominent veterans of ministry are facing their own career-ending moral allegations. These aren't isolated incidents. They reveal a systemic vulnerability that targets those at the very end of their journey. Aging introduces a distinct set of hidden psychological and spiritual threats. As it turns out, the final mile is actually the most dangerous phase of a believer's entire life. The human body and its environment undergo harsh, unavoidable changes with age. Chronic pain from diseases like Parkinson's sets in. Lifelong friends pass away, leading to deep grief, and social circles shrink, resulting in profound isolation. Biological decline intersects with environmental losses like isolation, generating compounding psychological distress. Older believers mistakenly spiritualize this distress as a lack of faith. Because of that stigma, they refuse medical help, leaving the distress untreated until it overwhelms their judgment. The toll on the aging brain is immense. Under constant, unaddressed pressure, the mind's normal coping mechanisms slowly fracture. This weakened psychological state acts as an open door. Normal life challenges bypass a leader's defenses and mutate into severe spiritual vulnerabilities. Once that door is open, older believers often face 10 specific risk factors, ranging from entitlement to boredom. These factors don't attack all at once. They operate in 4 progressive stages of drift. Stage 1 is the entitlement trap. Decades of success breed a sense of deserved comfort. This fosters a blinding self-righteousness, where a leader believes their years of service have earned them a reprieve from vigilance. Stage 2 is the isolation effect. As circles shrink, there is a dangerous neglect of accountability. Without godly men or women speaking into their lives, they move entirely out of reach from protective correction. Stage 3 is the routine of apathy. It is fueled by spiritual complacency and a late-life crisis. When a life of accomplishment gives way to boredom, it creates a psychological vacuum. A mind starved of purpose will seek out stimulation to fill the void. This is when bad online habits, secret fantasy lives, or marital drift take root, providing a temporary escape from the dullness of aging. Finally, stage 4, the drift of conviction. Theology softens. clear moral boundaries blur into gray areas, and the sharp edges that once protected a person's walk are smoothed over until previously unacceptable sins become entirely negotiable. A public fall is not a sudden event. It is the culmination of hundreds of micro-decisions, a slow erosion over 8 years of secret compromise. Catastrophic moral collapse is the result of unaddressed psychological vulnerability, multiplying with unchecked spiritual apathy over time. The collateral damage of these late-stage falls is horrific. Lifelong legacies are torched, and the betrayal inflicts generational trauma on spouses and children that no amount of repentance can fully erase. This reality leads to a central mandate. Believers must finish strong, no matter the physical or emotional cost. Spiritual survival in later life requires declaring active war against the natural gravity of aging. You cannot coast. You must explicitly reject the leniency that age tries to force on you. The grace that softens you must not be allowed to soften your theology. You have to purposefully remember the terrifying attributes of God. If you only focus on love and grace, you lose your reverential fear. You must remind yourself of wrath and justice to maintain a healthy fear of discipline. Externally, this means forcing yourself back into the rigorous daily grind of strict disciplines. You have to double down on your private reading, your prayer life, and the absolute mortification of your own bad habits. Relying on past momentum is a death sentence. Survival demands that you artificially reintroduce the sharp edges and the militant vigilance of your youth to actively combat the lethargy of age. You must submit to total transparency. Securing the final mile requires defensive guardrails. The first is treating mental health with proper clinical care, using tracking checklists to monitor mood, social withdrawal, and cognitive decline before they can be exploited. The second guardrail is doubling down on sanctification. Instead of coasting, an older believer must fight sin more forcefully than ever, staying fervent in prayer and Bible reading to resist the natural tendency toward complacency. We can look to the Billy Graham rule as a practical historical example. By establishing unyielding boundaries regarding isolation with the opposite sex, he systematically eliminated the proximity to temptation, protecting his ministry through uncompromised accountability. Survival also requires maintaining a reverential fear of God. By focusing on his severe attributes, righteousness and justice, a leader avoids the lovey-dovey ditch where they assume God won't discipline their secret indiscretions. As mentors like John Lennox have observed, the chief test of a shepherd is the way they end up. These grueling disciplines are the only way to prove that a life of service was genuine from the beginning. The end of the race is a struggle against both spiritual and physical exhaustion. It requires pushing through the pain of isolation and the fatigue of aging to reach the ultimate finish line. It does not matter how perfectly you ran the first 50 years. Finishing well is the only testimony that truly lasts.